People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruben and this is my review for Disney Plus's new series called Parallel. Let me know in the comments below, had you even heard of this? I hadn't until Disney gave me a prompt and said, hey, check out this new series. And I did. Let's talk about it. 4 teenage friends on the French-Swiss border whose lives are turned upside down by an experiment of the LHC, the world's biggest particle collider. If you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that one of my favourite series of all times, and Chris from Movies and Munchies, his favourite series of all time, is Dark. And when it comes to timey-wimey things, the fruition of the story over 3 seasons really had a great, moment at that end where you had all the stories coming together, making sense of the puzzle piece and the many timelines. And whenever you get timey-wimey things, that's the thing I worry about. How are they going to bring together the puzzle piece? Also, when I went into this, I'm thinking this is on Disney, it's a series, it's only a 12. It looks like it could be one of those straight to Disney movies, but in a series form. I wasn't expecting much from it. And I've seen a bit of diverse reviews and reactions from this series. I have to say, this was much better than I expected it to be, but maybe that's because I went in with low expectations. The puzzle piecing or the mapping of this series is probably what works best in this series. There's 6 episodes. They range from about 35 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on the episode. And halfway through, you start realizing they really have figured this out properly. So when you see a conversation happen, and then you understand why you see that conversation happen, the story starts to make sense later on in the episodes. You kind of have to give it time to build that puzzle piece. There are multiple timelines, well, two, I think, different age groups. It is different because it's not just timey-wimey, it's parallel worlds. And so when you take that into the mix, and characters that end up being one age and another age and from different worlds in different times and then going back to the original times, you do have to kind of concentrate and have your wits about you to try and understand what's happening. And as you get later and into the series, it might make your brain hurt a little. Even though this is a 12 in the UK, it's probably PG-13 in the US. It is one of those that you kind of have to think a little bit about. And I think if you think about it too hardly, you'll probably unravel some of the theories. But just on the outside looking in on a one-time watch, it's very enjoyable because you can see how the puzzle pieces fit together in the end. There is, I guess, a couple of unanswered questions that they don't quite answer that leaves me to think that they could do a second season if they wanted, but at the moment it feels like a limited series. Kind of my top tip for the series is also watch it in the original language. If your Disney is set to just go straight into dubbing, they probably won't give you the option or kind of not let you know that this isn't in English. It's a French original, so you have to go into the subtitles. And they don't have proper subtitles. It's audio descriptive subtitles, so you're going to be reading things like doors clanking or deep sighing or music plays. But that's okay, because if you're watching the dub, that's going to take away a lot of the nuance and the feeling, because the actors that they got to play the dubbing, they're fine, but they're not great. You can really tell that it just doesn't belong together, those voices. And so that was my first experience of episode 1. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to enjoy this. 20 minutes in, I was like, no, I've got to go to the original language. Found that they only had the CC, the audio description, which took me a little bit, probably an episode to get into, but once I understood that's what they had, what they had to offer, I got into the story. I do like that we get to see the backgrounds of our characters, and the way they do that is when they're playing with time, and that is quite fun, a clever way for you to get to know your characters, but also reveal the story in the arc. And so you're getting a little bit of the puzzle piece, but you're also getting, oh, this is why this family dynamic is quite dark, or one particular kid feels very left out when you have this brother and brother dynamic. The parents love one son more than the other, or that's what it looks like to the one brother. You have the daughter who's trying to look after a younger sister because the stepdad is a gambler. You have, all these dynamics going on, and without going off massively on tangents, it's always kind of kept in the arc of the timey-wimey stuff that's going on, because we're following these kids and they're trying to get back to their original time, and that is kind of like the culmination of the story, trying to fix what happens at the beginning of this from the collider. And so even though the science fiction is the arc of the story, it's really the character development of what goes on during those episodes is the kind of the main driving force. So what happens at the end of the day is a lot of character development. I do think it takes its time in the middle of the season, so probably episode 3 and 4 you'll feel it lag a little bit and take its time to kind of reveal some of that story. I think they could have gotten there a little bit quicker, but I didn't mind it on the whole. So I'm going to give this 3.5 Nicolas Cages out of 5. Not the best timey-wimey stuff, and I'm sure if you thought about it long and hard you could probably break it apart. But as a young adult timey-wimey series that kind of references things like Dark, like your next step would be as an adult to go and watch Dark, I thought this was a lot of fun. It was much better than I was expecting. And again, maybe that's because my thoughts on this as I went in was going, this is going to be crap. But it wasn't. It was alright. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.